Hey geeks, welcome to another Rockin the Code World with dotNetDave. Dang, I took 1 week off and I can't even talk. I'm glad you're here, and we have an exciting show coming up today with Michael Washington and talking about Blazor. So I'm excited about this show. I had 2 weeks off, so ready to get back to it. So let's go to the slides. So again, my guest today is Michael Washington. I've known him for a long time. He's an application architect, and we're going to be talking all things Blazor, unless we go off topic, and I tend to do that sometimes. So I'm glad you're here. There's my email address and handles. I hope you will contact me if you have any questions or comments, or who should be on the show, or if you want to be on the show, please email me, and we'll get you on the show. So let's get into the slides so we can get to Michael as soon as possible. Hey everybody, saying hi. I'm glad I guess you're glad I'm back. I was going to say, I took my first trip in a year and a half last weekend, and I left my 10-mile bubble finally and took a trip in an actual airplane, and I had a really great time with some of my coworkers up in Northern California. And I had my first ever home cooked Vietnamese meal, which was freaking awesome. And, but, the rest of the world, a lot of places in the world, including India, are still dealing with this horrible COVID pandemic. India is still having a really bad time. Simon just told me they've ran out of vaccines. And so it's still not looking good in India. So, last month I put out a challenge to all software engineers to either meet or beat my $100 challenge. So I'm challenging all software engineers not in India to donate at least $100 to this link to help with the COVID pandemic in India. I hope you'll do it. I'm really, really happy. One of my friends, Mads Torgersen, the architect of C#, actually donated $250. So thanks, Mads. I'm really happy that you did that. And it shows that you care about, people in India, my followers and my friends in India. I'm thinking about you, especially since, we've already lost one CSharpCorner MVP, and we've lost other CSharpCorner authors and people who just read CSharpCorner. So, this really makes me sad. And, I'm way on the other side of the world, and, all I can do is, try to get people to support you guys, and, try to get through this, because, this is not a country to country issue. It's a world issue, and the world has to stamp this thing down. So, let's keep working on it. So CSharpCorner's got a bunch of conferences coming up. The one I'm hosting is June 18th, Code Quality and Performance Virtual Conference. It's on a Friday on June 18th. I hope you'll come. I'm working on the papers that have been submitted, which you still can submit till the end of the month. And I so far have, I'm not going to tell you who they are yet, but I have an amazing list of speakers that are going to be in this conference. And I am so excited to have some of these people, including some really knowledgeable people at Microsoft that know everything about performance with .NET Core and .NET 5. So I hope you'll come to that conference and the other conferences at CSharpCorner. They all work out really well, and it's a great free resource that this site provides for you all. So please take advantage of it. As you know, as I've been saying on the show ever since it started, I'm working on this cookbook called the Hello World Cookbook, where all 100% of the proceeds will be donated to the Voice of Slum NGO in India, which I visited in 2019. And I'm going to have to be honest with you all. I've not gotten enough recipes in the year and a half that I've been trying to do this project, and the project's basically going to die if I don't get your help. So I really, really need your help. I know in some parts of the country, things are getting better, and I know you want to get back to your normal life, but please take a few moments out and donate your food recipes to helloworldcookbook.com. And here's a short little video of when we left the Voice of Slum in India in 2019.
So today we visited Voice of Slum here in India, and it's actually very incredible the work that they're doing here with the children, to teach them and to basically feed them and make sure that they are healthy enough, and then give them an education to get out of this slum. It's a really worthy cause, and I urge anyone to donate and help.
I agree, and not only donate, but I am truly inspired by the people who run this.
Yeah.
You inspire me.
I think Chandni and Dave, you guys have done an amazing job, and you said it's very emotional to hear these stories and how much work you guys have done. I wish you guys success, and we will try to help you as much as we can. We're going to take your message and give it to the community.
Yes.
Thank you.
And on top of that, the Voice of Slum has been doing a lot of work feeding families and children during this horrible pandemic in India. If you follow them on Facebook or even LinkedIn, you can see the work they're doing. And I'm so proud of those two people who started the Voice of Slum, because through more adversity than we ever deal with here in America, all they do is try to help other people in the slums. And there's to me, there's no better thing you can do than that. So please help with this cookbook. And also, if you have some extra cash laying around, please donate to the Voice of Slum. They need school supplies for the kids and things like that. So I hope you'll do that. Thanks. This week, I've said this a few times in the last probably month or so, that I'm actually looking for a new job for the first time in over 2 years. And I don't know what's happened to recruiters and trying to find a new job these days, and even LinkedIn, that it is a royal pain in my butt right now to try to find a new position. I never remember it being so difficult. So I'm not only am I having some pretty crappy interview stories happening, but even my friends are telling me even worse stories than mine that they're dealing with right now, trying to find a job in 2021, and dealing with these people that really don't seem to know what they want. And so my question to you guys is, would you like me to do a show or shows about interviewing? I do have a whole book on this, and I know that I think every time I've been to India, I've spoken about this. But would you like me to do a show about it? Because, this show is more about coding and, things like that. But, finding a job is an important skill to have too in this career. So I've got a couple of yeses already. So if you want me to do a show about interviewing, please say please make a comment in the chat. And if I get enough, then I'll do it. Otherwise, if I only have one yes, then I probably won't do it. So make sure you make a comment in the chat, or email me. There's my email address. Oh, and actually, if you have interviewing stories, good and bad, I'd like to hear from you, because, one of my ideas for the show is to have like a panel type show. And so I want to have some people who have recently looked for a job and been through interviews. So please email me. All right. I'd like to bring on my guest. Michael Washington is an ASP.NET C# programmer. He has extensive knowledge in process improvement, billing systems, and student information systems. He is a founder of AIHelpWebsite.com and BlazorHelpWebsite.com. He has a son, Zachary, and resides in Los Angeles. That's how I know him, with his wife, Valerie. Welcome, Michael.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks. I only screwed up your bio once.
No,
I usually do worse than that.
And I do want to add, I just, during your intro, I met your challenge. So I just donated $100. So
thank you.
I now, all the other developers out there who are, again, we're very blessed. So if you're like me and you're extremely blessed, yeah, please reach out, because this is very serious. You know, I have coworkers who have family in India, and so every day I've been going through the emotional ups and downs as, you know, they get, you know, have to get the canisters for the air for their family, get them to the hospital, you know, finding ambulances. I mean, so many things that other parts of the world we just take for granted. So, you know, our family members, you know, they're going through a hard time right now. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can all just, you know, reach out, help, you know, our family members in need. Because yes, this is serious life or death. So I just hope that everyone else just reach out and just, you know, do what you can. So.
Yeah, thanks. You know, one thing I was talking with my coworkers this weekend when I went to Northern California was, you know, one thing that, you know, it feels to me that made things worse in India that we kind of take for granted here, right, is, you know, we have an entire infrastructure to deliver food and medicine and anything we want, basically, we can get delivered right to our home in most everywhere in America, right? And they don't have that in India, right? If you need food, you have to go out. You know, if you need medicine, you have to go out into the COVID land. You know, there's no choice, you know, and so it's, you know, so we, you know, Americans be really happy with the infrastructure we have, but then, you know, try to help out others in India too. You know, it sure makes my heart feel good when, you know, when I do help my friends in India or anywhere else in the world, you know, when they're going through issues. So thanks, Michael. That's really great. And I hope more people follow suit with my challenge, and I'm going to keep doing it until things get better in India. So thanks. So let's talk about Blazor. So everybody, please make sure that you you know, ask comments. I know a lot of people here are really interested in Blazor, and that's why I'm having another Blazor guest on this year. And I'll have more on this year too, probably even more coming up to the release in November. But so let me ask you a question I know someone in the chat's going to ask, because they ask this every time. So why should I put time into Blazor if Microsoft's just going to abandon it in a couple of years? What's your comment to that? Because, you know, there's a lot of things in Microsoft, like Light Switch, right? That you were really big into, right?
Very big into Light Switch.
Yeah,
and
then
Silverlight.
Gone one day. You know. So
here's my honest answer. Just all technology changes, so nothing lasts forever. Period. Even JavaScript, you know, is obviously a language that's been around for a long time, but this is not your grandfather's JavaScript. You know what I'm saying? You know, TypeScript is a completely different animal. Yeah. And a matter of fact, the thing I do want us to touch on is, you know, I was also very big in Angular, and I do want to touch upon why I feel Blazor is so important to me versus Angular. So I'm willing to dive into that, but just to stay on an answer to your question, the biggest thing is that the only reason why Silverlight really went away, and I know some people disagree on this one, but Silverlight is a plugin, needed a plugin that was controlled by Microsoft. Blazor runs in two modes, WebAssembly and server-side Blazor. The WebAssembly version of Blazor is, in my opinion, a plugin. It is a plugin. I mean, come on. Yeah. It's the web, you're in the web browser, something runs in it's a plugin. But it's a plugin that is not controlled by Microsoft. It's an industry standard plugin. Right. Therefore, that is honestly the real difference between WebAssembly Blazor and say Silverlight. And Flash. Flash was, again, the same issue. It was a plugin controlled by Adobe. And that's why it went away. However, Blazor, like I said, does run in two modes: server-side Blazor and what we call client-side Blazor or WebAssembly. And the server-side Blazor is really just an updated version of ASP.NET Web Forms, MVC. It just doesn't have postbacks. That's the only difference. I'm telling you, it's .NET code.
Yeah.
So as you all know, Web Forms and MVC, they haven't gone anywhere. Okay. So if you look at it that way, if you're a server-side Blazor person like myself, this is just, MVC plus, the next version of MVC. So there's that. So
it's not
you always have to
completely
separate
new.
Blazor into two things: the WebAssembly client side and the server side. They both use the same Blazor language, so therefore we all call it one thing as Blazor. At one time, they had two different names, but because the the code, Blazor code is the same, they put it all back under one umbrella. They call it Blazor, but we are always talking about two different things.
Right.
So therefore, my answer to your question, which is, I think, directed to the client-side Blazor, or WebAssembly Blazor, the reason why I feel that it won't go away like Silverlight did or Flash did is because the plugin, and it is a plugin, is not controlled by Microsoft. It's controlled, it's an industry standard, and therefore I feel it will last longer. But it will not last forever, and if we have this conversation 10 years from now, we'll be talking about something else, Dave.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I won't be programming 10 years from now, but maybe, who knows?
I think we will. Okay, we're going to make a date, okay? 10 years from this date, okay? We're you and me.
Yeah, everything changes, right? It's just, I think a lot of people have, the, I'm afraid to use it because Microsoft will abandon it in a couple of years kind of thing, which is Microsoft does. There's lots of great things I could list off the top of my head that I wish was still around, and Microsoft just abandoned for some reason. And some of it makes no sense to me, but I don't work there. But so yeah, and I think a lot of stuff I hear is well, Blazor's new, but it's not really, right? And JavaScript's been around forever, so I'm just going to use JavaScript, and like you pointed out, Blazor's really not anything new. It's just a package of some technologies that have been around that they call Blazor, right? Yeah, and I think the original Blazor was actually written by somebody at Microsoft as like a
Blazor was created
his own personal thing or something like that.
Right, Blazor was created by Steve Sanderson.
Yeah,
and that kind of goes into another subject I want to just touch upon, which is I after Silverlight and therefore Light Switch collapsed. I got really involved with Angular and TypeScript. So I, actually wrote some books on the subject, did a lot of, enterprise level applications. And I used a thing called that was created by Steve Sanderson, because Steve Sanderson also created Knockout, one of the first JavaScript languages. And then he started working for Microsoft, and he did the integration tools for running Angular with .NET backends and also React and all the other stuff. So he knew those JavaScript frameworks better than anybody, and he tried to make things easy. And I think it's because he saw the problems, and the problems that I feel. TypeScript is a great language, great tool. JavaScript is obviously very useful, and we use a lot of JavaScript in Blazor. But the problem is NPM, Node Package Manager. Basically, that world is created by a bunch of little people. Not little people, but little small developers. Not big companies, but creating packages. Someone else uses that package in a bigger package. Someone uses that package in a bigger package. So to do a hello world in Angular, you literally download like 30,000 files.
Or how about Node?
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Node. So the thing is that it's very brittle. Very brittle, and you see all these warnings of well, you need to replace this thing, but you can't replace this thing because this thing is built very so deep. So it's just brittle. Your you build your site one day, and then tomorrow you build it again, and it's like everything's broken. And the only way to fix it is you have to Google a bunch of Stack Overflow articles. I mean, the brittleness and just the fact that there's so many people, so there's no. Basically, Steve Sanderson, when he created Blazor, he basically created a language and tools that act like Angular and all those sorts of things. No postbacks, everything's fast. It's actually Blazor's always using some sort of JavaScript rendering, but he went back to the C#. Just write your method. Minimal code, easy to use, easy to understand. And also, he brought back the ability to have component vendors to just give you a data grid that just works. You just drop it in, you do data binding like you would in MVC or web forms, and everything just works again. And he just basically, took everything about the Angular world and just put it back into the .NET web world. And so when I saw it happening, I jumped on it. So I've been involved with it from the beginning, and I haven't looked back. And so that's why I just love talking about it. And if you haven't tried it, definitely try it. And hopefully I'll show you some stuff that I've been working on during this interview.
Yeah, and you touched on something that I don't think a lot of Java happy companies realize is that there's a lot of .NET developers out there, right? .NET's been around for 20 years. There's a lot of us. There's a lot of us, including me, that don't like JavaScript and never put a lot of time into being an expert, right? I mean, I barely knew enough to teach a little bit of it in an Ajax class a long time ago at a university, Ajax, right? Yeah. And so for me, as soon as I saw Blazor for the first time, I go, oh my gosh, I could do websites again, because now I don't have to learn that freaking JavaScript, but when I say that, everybody, is you can still use JavaScript. Blazor doesn't prevent you from using JavaScript. It doesn't make you do JavaScript to do anything cool, like a lot of other sites do. So.
And when it renders to the page, it is using JavaScript. It's just you don't have to write it. Right.
And that was really some of the coolness, I think, behind the the controls that came out in ASP.NET 2, right? Is a lot of those controls that came out there were using JavaScript, was basically pre-genning JavaScript that we didn't have to do, like the code validation controls and things like that. And so that to me was great because I didn't have to write JavaScript to do that cool stuff, right? And so Blazor is just kind of the next evolution. In 5 or 10 years, we'll have something else, right? So I think it's cool. I think there's a lot of great opportunities for .NET developers that have been shy, like myself, of doing anything UI anymore because of this crazy. There's a new JavaScript library I have to learn every freaking day, and it's just, or you were saying about those files, I remember, I was deleting like the bin folder of, one of the sites that use that. And all of a sudden I saw like 20,000 files being deleted. I'm going, what? And there's a part of me that says that has to slow things down with all that file IO, right? It just has to. I mean, but I don't know.
The biggest issue is security.
Yeah,
you can't have that many vectors, and that's why if you ever, I do post a lot of stuff on GitHub, and GitHub will scan for vulnerabilities, and I mean you're going to get emails, new vulnerabilities. I'm telling you, like multiple emails a week, and you do the research, and it's this component that's been buried, and the person who wrote that component, he or she, they're not even working on that project, and you haven't worked on that project in years, so they're not going to fix this thing. And even if they did fix it, it's just the brittleness is an issue. The security issues are an issue. We can't act like so when I'm designing applications, enterprise applications, and I am responsible to, the security people of the enterprise applications. And I can't honestly say that an Angular application that we deployed 6 months ago does not have exploits right now, and to fix them, we'd have to like remove entire components because that's not okay.
No.
The nice thing about, like I said, a Blazor application is that the security, I know where we are in the security. I'm not, putting in a 1,000 different components from 1,000 different places. I may just use maybe 1 or 2 component vendors. That's it. The rest of it is just, obviously Microsoft keeps on top of the Microsoft components. And it's just a lot less code and therefore a lot cheaper. Yeah. So an Angular app, I mean, if we have like a simple, I need to add a data grid with a screen for editing some data with 2 interrelated tables. So a child, a parent-child thing. With Angular, the developer can be on this thing for 3 days because there's so many components and so many files and so many things, whatever. A Blazor developer, an experienced Blazor developer, I'm going to give that person like a couple of hours at the most. Bringing a new developer up to speed. Basically, I give them a copy of my book. I give them about 10 websites, where they have tutorials. Basically, I give them about a week. If you are a C# developer, I can give you about a week, and now you are a competent Blazor developer. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Angular, I mean, weeks to months to get someone up to speed because they have to learn the node package manager and the dropping into command line and this thing, and when you get this error, you have to go into this and the pound this and the dot. I'm very big on the Blazor. Do you want to take some of the questions?
But before we do, I know the first question I want to ask, but the one thing I want to point out real quick is I'm really glad you brought up security because, in the project I architected at work, I actually architected that the front end would be Blazor, but that was changed behind my back, and they went with, Node.js and Node and all that stuff. And oh my God, security is a freaking nightmare. To trying to get Okta to work all the way through back end to the API and everything. It took us so long to get it to work. And beyond that, we were talking about controls, and this is the next question I want to ask is, just doing anything simple grid took forever. If I just could have gotten that company to pay a couple $1,000s for some controls, we would have had that site done in a month and not 6 months, right? And that's the beauty of controls, and which I am always have been a huge proponent of. So speaking of controls, someone asked, when can we get more components? I'm not really sure what they're asking. I'm not sure if they're asking the components in ASP.NET or elsewhere, but what's your comment on that? Because you're more into the components of Blazor than I have been so far. Yeah,
the component vendors really got onto Blazor really big. So I've actually written a couple of books for Syncfusion. So if you want to use Syncfusion controls, I actually have 2 books. One book using server-side Blazor, one using client-side Blazor. I even have another Syncfusion book that's in process where it's using Syncfusion with Octane, which is basically a .NetNuke version of Blazor, created by the same person, Sean Walker, and of course all the other component vendors are have Blazor components like Telerik,
Grape City, Dev Express.
So they all have it, and the components work the way they worked, like they work in MVC and web forms, and also of course Windows forms, and of course WPF also. So so like I said, I use the components, and I can show you some stuff later on. So the component story is really great. There's tons of components, many of them free. So I'm actually involved in an open source project where we actually give away a lot of components. So for example, I wrote one component to do rich text editing.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, there's just there is a lot there. So if you're not able to find it, just you need to increase your Google, your Bing Googling, because
Bing.
there's so much.
You have
Yes,
to say Bing. No, I'm
Bing.
kidding.
Yes, Bing. Yes. But Blazor is the organization that I'm a part of, and Blazor gives away a lot of free components, of course, with full source code. They're very popular. I think we have over a million downloads for the entire suite.
And Jeff Fritz,
no, there's a lot of stuff out there.
And Jeff Fritz has a whole suite of controls he's written
Yep.
too. He was actually my first Blazor guest back in, I think, December. And so, so he's done it too. So there's a lot of people working on Blazor. And that's a sign that Blazor's not going away, right?
No, it's not
If there's a lot of companies and people working on it, including at Microsoft, right?
Yep.
That's a sign it's going to be around for long enough to put some time into it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
So there's some other questions there that they had,
so how about the one about is Blazor production ready? Yeah, for like CSharpCorner.
Very much so, very much
Yeah,
so. And like I said, I've actually put it on some very large enterprise projects, and I also want to put in there that I, even though I've written some books and we will cover Blazor client, Blazor WebAssembly, I've most of the majority of stuff I do, practically all the stuff I do, is Blazor server. So people were questioning, can Blazor server handles it great.
Really fast.
Yeah. And I am telling you, with the only thing I would stress to people is host your Blazor application in Azure. There's something special about running it in Azure, and make sure you go into the properties of the Azure web app and you turn on WebSockets. If you do that, basically a $15 a month Azure website can take just hundreds of simultaneous users.
Wow.
Without a problem. And so all my enterprise applications were using Blazor server. The two reasons why I use Blazor server as my go-to is it's faster. You don't have to, put so much security and
Right.
Orchestration around to protect your controller methods, because like an MVC app, it's all server side. So it's less code, therefore it's faster development. Debugging is easier. I did see a question in there.
Yeah.
Basically, if you're using server-side Blazor, debugging is easy. Just set the breakpoint and you're good to go. So there's that. And also, there's no slow startup time. If you use Blazor WebAssembly, there can be a delay for the person to download the client. So therefore, the only times I really would use Blazor WebAssembly is if you had situations where people need to be off, to have the app work offline. So for example, mobile. But if you don't have that situation, like I said, I just use Blazor server. It just runs fast, works great, works on all browsers. They say all modern browsers, but at this point, it's all browsers. And it just works great. So I just can't say enough about that.
So can you do Blazor as a static site? I would assume you can.
Oh yeah, they actually just you mean like using Azure static website?
Static
So in
website.
that case, you'll be using the Blazor WebAssembly, and they just recently released a new template. I don't have the link. Maybe Simon can find it. But there's like a new template that they put into the beta version of Visual Studio, so that you can easily deploy your Blazor WebAssembly site to Azure static websites. So again, I think those are like free at this point. So, because I think like GitHub has a thing where if you have a Azure static website in your GitHub, it will automatically deploy or something like that. So, but again, like I said, because I don't do that much with WebAssembly, I'm not the person, there's others who are more of an expert in that.
And you're right. I, at this point, for me, just the security hassle alone, I don't want to use WebAssembly, and you're, and I've been telling people pretty much the same thing you have, unless you need offline capabilities, or maybe you need access to, services on the machine that you just can't get through, the server side piece, then that would be a reason to use the the client side piece. But other than that, I would stick with the server side at this point.
Right. But even the WebAssembly would be sandbox. So
Yeah.
there actually would not be anything
Oh,
on
there
the
wouldn't be
person's
any?
machine
Oh,
that
okay.
you can get to that the Blazor server side would not be able to get to. Whereas, of
Oh,
course, the
okay.
Blazor server side can actually then, it can get to things on the machine. For example, the AI, some of the AI stuff, components, had to have a higher level of access so that a lot of my initial AI stuff with Blazor had to be server side. They've re-architected some stuff so that you can now do some of the stuff, components with Blazor WebAssembly, but you sometimes run into those situations. So again, the Blazor server is the one that wins every time, except for the fact that if you do need offline capabilities, then you must at that point use Blazor WebAssembly.
Right. And how many offline web apps have anybody seen? Right.
I know that's the thing, yeah. But when I do see people doing a normal site, for example, like a normal blog site or something like that, and they go immediately to Blazor WebAssembly thinking that, well, it's going to be, I'm offloading the resources to the end user. I'm telling you, I'm like, yeah, but if you can run hundreds of simultaneous people on a $15 Azure website, why are you doing this? But again, they both work, and I just favor one over the other, but that's just an opinion. It's not fact.
Yeah. So before we run out of time, let's talk about Octane.
Okay, yeah. Actually, let me go ahead and let me try to do a screen share here. This is where it all goes wrong, folks. And
it's live.
It's live. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen.
And it's free. What do you expect?
Yeah, exactly. So do you see my Octane screen here?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you're familiar with dotNetNuke.com.
Could you maximize it?
Oh,
so
sure.
We can see a little bit better?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. There you go.
There you go.
If you're familiar with dotNetNuke.com, it was created, basically it was a .NET web forms app created by Sean Walker. And it was just basically a way for people to have, it's really not a CMS, a content management system, but it does have those kind of abilities where, you can move things around here. I can, let's see where, oh yeah, like, oops, sorry. Like I can edit text here, so, you kind of have this thing here. You can install, upload files, file management. You can go into the admin dashboard. They do a lot of things, page management, user management, profile management. Basically, you get everything out of the box, and you can easily install it using a wizard.
Watch out, WordPress.
Yeah, exactly. So, so while it's not considered a content management system because it doesn't have a lot of the, sophisticated things that a true content management system has, it's, it does have quite a bit. So, so again, so the reason why I've been very involved with this is this runs in Blazor, and it does run in server-side Blazor or client-side Blazor. So that's, this one doesn't get involved in the, that thing there. And for example, I created this module, survey module, and this right here is using components. So this is using a Radzin. So Radzin has, all these nice components for, showing the charts and stuff. Radzin also has, controls like this. So this multi-select control, this is a Radzin control. These are Radzin buttons.
Those are all free, I assume, right?
Yeah, Radzin's free.
Yeah.
So again, perfect example of the components and stuff. And there you go here. A book that I'm working on for Syncfusion is showing how Syncfusion can be used in Octane. So this right here is this help desk thing. And again, these are using, the Syncfusion controls. Yeah, there we go. See, so you got, the calendar controls and all that. And again, the code looks pretty much like, the .NET, the MVC, MVC of the controls work, with the data binding and that sort of thing. So this is where I've been concentrating a lot of my work, and the reason why is because this is taking you to the Octane site. There's quite a few people, 887 stars here, 246 forks, a lot of people that are contributing to it. I've actually contributed even to the core, because there's this deploy to Azure button, which works most of the time. Because what happens, it works fine when I first put it out, and then Azure keeps changing things. So
yeah, I know.
but theoretically, you can just come to Octane, click this deploy to Azure and button, and it would walk you through stuff. I do a lot of on my blazorhelpwebsite.com. If you go to Octane, you see I have quite a few articles on showing you how to, do custom distributions using site templates. This one's kind of cool, because what you can do is you can actually have a custom site template where a person can install Octane, and it installs your modules, and basically, has your logo. So you can have like a, something where people don't even know it's an Octane site, because it loads up. You can replace the Octane logo with your logo. Your modules will show up. Your stuff shows up. So you can kind of use like a white label sort of situation. With Octane, again, everything is free. Everything is open source. This is actually part of the .NET Foundation. It's actually owned. The ownership of the code is by the .NET Foundation. So you don't have to worry about some private company taking it over. So I've been spending a lot of my time and effort promoting Octane, because it's Blazor, but it allows a developer to just write their module piece, and then Octane will take care of the rest.
Yeah.
And the final thing I'll talk about, I just want to touch on real quick, is creating an Octane module is really easy, because they have this Octane module creator. And basically what happens is that you go here and you say, go to the module creator. You basically, put, the name of your module. You click this button, and it will actually create a Visual Studio project as your starter project. So it automatically creates a bunch of code for you, and then you can just go in and then start editing the code, and there you are. So yeah, this is it, where it creates the thing. And Octane modules are actually distributed using NuGet. So you could either manually upload a NuGet package, or when you come into module management, and you say install a module, it actually scans NuGet to see where the latest modules are, and you can just like click a button to download it and update things. So so it's really easy to use, and this is something I've been spending a lot of my time on doing.
That's great. Sorry, I was reading the comments and listening to you. That's what I'm going to use in my next Blazor project.
Oh yeah,
that's for sure. That it gets me a lot further than the Visual Studio template does. That's for sure. The question I wanted to ask was, what is the data store used behind the scenes?
Oh, for Octane, currently it's SQL Server. However, the latest version, they're using Entity Framework for the installs, which again opens it up to supporting any data store that Entity Framework does.
Framework supports, yeah.
So I think the future plans is definitely, the immediate future plans is to support multiple data sources. So that actually may work, because they did a release about a month ago. I mostly concentrate on the module development, not the core stuff. So reaching out to on that Octane GitHub site, there's a discussion board. That's where a person can post their questions, and usually Sean Walker or one of the other core team members will answer to tell you exactly what's going on with that multi data support. But I know that it's definitely on the roadmap, and they may have already achieved it. So if that's important to you, then yeah, reach out to them for that.
Yeah. So one of the questions someone asked, which I think is interesting, is is Microsoft contributing back to the WebAssembly?
Oh, they've done quite a bit. They of course want to get WebAssembly to be as small as possible and also as fast as possible, so that the WebAssembly story, is the best it can be. So so Microsoft has, they're deep into, that, and contributing to it, and really fostering the growth of that. So WebAssembly has a lot to thank, Microsoft, because Microsoft's totally committed to it, and again, someone who's more in touch with it can give better details. But I do know from just following, Dan Roth is the program manager.
I know Dan.
And so I've seen him tweeting and blogging about this, so I definitely know that they're doing work on that. And even Steve Sanderson, God, it was over a year ago. Time flies over COVID.
I know.
So it's almost 2 years ago. He was blogging and tweeting about how, we're in the lab and we're, doing some improvements. And of course, Microsoft's been, they've been pushing back, releasing their code and contributing to the industry standard stuff. So no, I would say the answer to the question is Microsoft is doing quite a bit to move WebAssembly forward. Yeah,
great. You've been getting a lot of great comments. I'm really impressed. Everybody's loving this show for sure. Yeah, and you're getting some great comments about your ebook. And but there's one comment maybe you understand this more than I do. Someone asked, did the move to Discord/Slack? I'm not sure what she means by that.
Oh, did the move to?
Yeah, can you explain a little bit more your question, because I certainly don't understand it.
I do know that Octane was on, it wasn't Discord or Slack, but they moved their primary chat to the discussion page on their GitHub site. So that might be talking about that.
The communications channel.
But if this is regarding Octane, then please go to the discussions page on the GitHub site for Octane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
I think that, hopefully. Yeah. Otherwise, please clarify.
So I can't believe it, but someone said 45 minutes is up already, and I agree. I can't believe we're almost out of time. Is there anything else you want to talk about quickly before we go? DotNetNuke? Or no, Octane is .NET for.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
I really shouldn't say it that way, but just being basically BlazorHelpWebsite.com is the place to see what I'm working on. It is the place to get to all the GitHub projects, Blazor GitHub projects that I'm working on, and hopefully in the coming weeks, in addition to the Octane articles I've been doing, I hope to try to get Azure Communication Services to work with Blazor. And the irony of this is that currently the SDK for doing voice, video like we're doing here requires a JavaScript SDK, and you have to use Node. So today I'm going to have to add Node to a Blazor project, because it's the only way for me to, it really sucks. Whereas, for example, I did integration with Power BI, and with Power BI, you just reference the Power BI JavaScript file, but then the rest of your code is Blazor C#, and that works fine. But the, and they may change things in the future, but right now, you have to use Node, and I do want to get real-time video in a Blazor app. So anyway, check out my blog and the Blazor Help website in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully I'll have something that I'll be releasing. And everything I do is on GitHub and totally free. So
see. So the last few questions, I definitely want you back, maybe even before .NET 6 comes out, because everybody's been loving the show, and I've learned a lot too. on the show. Like I didn't really know what Octane was before. But sometimes I purposely don't look up things that my guests talk about so I can learn too,
Yeah.
But so what do you do for fun besides raising a kid and being married?
I really do program for fun. It's it's fun. It's just the creation. It's also working with other people. You put up a GitHub project, and then you're communicating with people on the other side of the world, and you're discussing ideas. It's fun. So I actually do program for fun, and then I just give it all away, and because you give it away and see if people use it, and so yeah, I'm a total geek.
Yeah. I still code for fun too, I kind of wish I was coding for fun all the time, but I have a job. I have to pay bills.
Yep, I have a job
else,
and I have to pay bills. Yep. And I
because
listen to audiobooks. I like to listen to audiobooks. I like to jog and listen to audiobooks while I jog. Like an audiobook I recently listened to, Rachel Maddow has a book called Blowout, which is about the industry, the energy industry. And you would think that's the most boring thing. The book is laugh out loud funny in her delivery. Yeah, because the way she delivers it and the whole thing, I'm telling you, it's like, it opens your eyes to so much. You're like, that's how the world works. So that's the other thing I do.
I really like her. She's one of the newscasts I watch every evening.
Me too. Every evening. So yeah, but the book, our audiobook Blowout, is incredible. So
I'm gonna have to get it now and listen to it while I'm working.
I recommend it highly. And she recently won an Emmy Award for her her performance. So
yeah, I know a lot of people don't like news 24-hour news channels, and I'm with you, but Rachel Maddow is like the only person that I watched that it sounds like she's hanging out with in a bar with you, just chatting with you like you're anybody else, and it's really interesting to listen to her, especially when she goes on her 25-minute monologues in the beginning of whatever she's passionate about. Because there's a lot of passionate developers out there like myself and Michael, and she's very passionate about the news and stuff, and especially the stuff that she had to go through with COVID with her partner and all that stuff, and her being scared and saying that on the show. Just because you're a newscaster doesn't mean you don't have feelings, right? And so so that was great. It's been awesome having you on the show. I definitely want to have you come back. Okay. The one thing I do want to say real quick is no one from the Los Angeles area has asked me to come speak at the user group in years. So can you put a bug in somebody's ear and say, I'm just sitting down here doing nothing. You guys aren't asking me to come speak. So
when they start up again, because as you all know, we were on
well, I mean, even virtually, I'll do virtual at this point. I just want to speak anywhere.
Oh yeah, no, and again, also me too. That's why I'm so glad you had me. Thank you for having me.
Well, I haven't seen you in a long time either, so it's great. Right. It's great to catch up with you, and you're looking great and
thank you.
Smiling and happy, and so I'm glad everything's going great for you and your family, and you didn't get sick, and
I'm all vaccinated and the whole 9 yards, and
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. And I'll have you on soon, I hope.
Okay.
Thanks. Well, that was a great episode and lots of great comments. I'm glad you liked that. And, if you guys have other speakers you want me to invite on the show, people you follow on Twitter, things like that, drop me a line and I'll invite them. I'll invite anybody. So far, I've tried to get Scott Hansel in. That doesn't seem to be working out, but maybe Scott Goo someday. That would be awesome. I'm still trying. So anyway, thanks a lot, Michael. That was a great show. I learned some stuff, which I'm always really, really interested in learning something new. Our world is changes so quickly. I just can't keep up anymore. So it's great to have experts like Michael on to come on and talk about stuff like Blazor, right? So. So someone just asked about CodeRush. There it is. So everybody wins a copy of CodeRush, my favorite refactoring tool ever since Visual Studio was invented. And actually, Visual Studio just announced a feature that's either in or coming in Visual Studio that DevExpress has had for many, many years. So check it out. It's free. It's a free, real copy of CodeRush. It's not crippled or anything like that. And so I hope you'll go check it out. Like I said, I use it every day that I code, and it makes me a more productive developer. Yeah. All right, new code rules. This is my new section that I've done, and I'm going to try to keep doing as long as I can, come up with ideas. And most of these new code rules are things that I'm currently experiencing, or maybe something I've experienced that my friends are experiencing. This is all of that and maybe more. And maybe we can do a whole show about this, or maybe Mahesh can do this show on his growth and mindset show. But here it is for this week. Companies that don't trust their employees is freaking frustrating and is a huge impediment to productivity. You know, I've seen this trend for a while now in software engineering, and maybe this is happening in other careers too, but I really have been feeling it. You know, I didn't feel like this when I started programming, full-time 27 years ago. But now it just seems like there's no company out there that trusts their employees anymore. Now, I know that's not true. I know there are some companies out there, but it seems to me, at least the majority of companies that I deal with or people tell me about, just flat out don't trust their employees. And, as an employee and as somebody who, runs his own, has been running his own things for a long time now, I just don't understand it, and I'll say a little bit at the very end about that at the very end of this. But, it's really hard to work for companies that don't trust you, flat out don't trust you right from the get-go. And including companies that just continuously make it worse. I'm going to give you some examples. So micromanagers, one trait of a micromanager is that they don't trust their employees. And so they have to constantly be on top of them, micromanaging every freaking thing they do, making the employee prove every single second they, spend on what each day. They don't listen. They're really just out for making themselves look better to the people above them. And, this is one of the places where the mistrust starts to me is managers and micromanagers, just bad managers, really to me. Not letting people work remote. I know a big reason before the pandemic that a lot of companies, including the one I'm currently working for, don't trust their employees enough to let them work remote. And so I'm hoping that, the pandemic has been showing companies that, this is not true in most cases. Unfortunately, I see a lot of companies already sliding back into making people come back in now, which, again, I don't understand. So, if you don't trust your workers to work remote, maybe you need new workers or new managers. I'm not really even sure what the solution to that is. I worked at one company that every year they asked me to sign a document saying that I didn't commit a felony in the last year. And if those of you who don't live in America, felony is a criminal act that you can be charged with. And if you have a felony, it's really, really hard to get a job in America if you have a felony, especially jobs like I have. You can't get if you have a felony. But why do you ask me every year? Do you really not trust me? Come on, and, and so here's some impediments to work that just recently happened to me. We talked about Octa tokens. They give us Octa tokens to debug stuff that lasts 30 seconds. Do you know any debugging session that lasts under 30 seconds? So come on. Read-only access to AWS console. Yes, people, I want to do a whole nother show on this, but, where I work, we've been begging for access to the AWS console for well over 2 years, and we still don't have access to anything but read things. I can't do anything on AWS, including executing microservices. And the reason is they don't trust us. They think we're going to do something that's going to charge a lot of money to the company. More impediments to work, constantly logging into Okta during the day. And even some systems, I logged into Okta, go to another system that's controlled by Okta, and I have to log in again, literally 10 seconds later. The amount of times we have to log into Okta a day is just horribly frustrating. And it is an impediment to work. And some systems don't work together. I just said that with the logins and stuff. Where I currently work, they put your user folder on a network drive. I'm assuming so they can see what you're doing. I know it's part of a backup, but I'm sure they want to see what things you're storing in there also. But the problem that I discovered and why I refuse to use their laptops is Visual Studio uses that user folder for caching and stuff like that. And when you put that user folder on a network drive, Visual Studio turns into a nightmare. Visual Studio is already slow enough, but when you put that stuff on a network drive, my teammates at work, Visual Studio crashes throughout the day. And there's one project at work they can't even load because Visual Studio will crash just loading it, right? Okay. And blocking external websites, like my coworkers at work now can't even go to Gmail to check an order status or to maybe update something or to contact their school for some reason about something about their kids. They can't even do that now. They've locked everything down so much. And they just keep continuing locking everything down to the point where it is so hard to get work done there. I really don't understand what they're doing. But, for me, trust is important in any relationship. I don't care if it's your wife or husband or girlfriend or boyfriend or friend or family member or manager or company at a CEO, the CEO of the company. You have to believe in trust and want to be surrounded by people who trust you. And companies are just making this so toxic that no one wants to work there. And when no one wants to work there, guess what happens? Everybody leaves. And that's what's happening where I work now, and that's a problem because all of a sudden we've lost a huge brain trust in just a couple weeks, a couple months, right? And I just don't get it. Companies need to explain this to me, and companies, and you wonder why we don't trust you because you don't trust us. Companies, things have to come from the top down, right? And if you don't trust your employees, maybe you have the wrong employees, or maybe you have the wrong culture at your company, right? Maybe look inward a bit and, see where this mistrust is coming from and fix it. You'll have happier employees, you'll have happier customers, and you'll retain your employees, right? It's a no-brainer, people. All right. Sorry, I went off way on the deep end on that one, but as you can see, I have a lot of passion around that. So don't forget to tune into the show next week. Next Saturday, we'll have a guest on. I'm working on that right now. I'm sure it'll be another awesome guest, just like Michael. Like I've talked already, the pandemic is still going pretty bad. It's still not great in America, but it's going worse in India. And one thing you can do, even if you can't afford, donating money, you can afford donating blood. It's free, it's easy, and it really makes you feel good that you've helped other people. I donate every month, and you can do it too, unless you have some medical reason. I really want to hear your comments, suggestions for the show. I've yet to get an email for comments, and so I hope somebody will write me a comment. Even David's full of energy. That would make me feel happy. All right. So thanks for watching. I've had a really great time. I'm glad I went on vacation and came back and have some renewed energy because I'm looking for a new job and I need it. All right. See you next week. Thanks.